June, July, it's foxglove time, and they love freshly broken ground like this quarry that's being cleared off close to where I live. They've always been a big part of my life, and I've made films about them before, but this one's just to update, to show an A2, quite a large painting, and to combine it with water, which I also love very much. Water has so much variety, and it's the realm of the toads. I'm going to show a bit about those in this film. And then back out on the hills, pools of water gather, moist places like this, combined with the foxgloves. They're the inspiration for the type of artwork that I paint with the iron sometimes, and I invite you to join me and see how this is made. When working bigger areas, if you wrap the cable around your arm, it stays out the way. Turn it up to high, because then you get faster melting for the wax. And when you're working on bigger areas, you're going to lose heat into the surface, so this is a good thing to do. But you must keep working quite fast once you've turned it up. You can see I've got some grey there, and I'm melting these lumps down using the iron to get rid of them. That grey is from the inside of the iron. It'll disappear into the painting. It's very difficult to clean the inside out, obviously. What I'm trying to do here really is to cover the whole of the card with some wax, this white wax, so that it's all liquid and it's all got some coating. And now that that's done, I can get on and actually put on the colours that I want into the sky. And for these foxgloves I'm going to use pink and blue, sort of summery colours. Lots of birds of prey where I live, so I love looking up at that blue sky and watching them circle around. And then I'm just smoothing this colour into the existing white wax and blending them all together. This whole painting is just done with the iron and the stylus, so there's no hot air to help here. So having the extra temperature and then moving a little bit more slowly helps. And these speeded up sections are 3 times real speed. And then at the end it's just a case of cleaning off with the tissue. Now it's time to load the iron, still quite a hot temperature for the horizon, and I'm using a little bit of the sky colours with the green and the brown so that it tones in and is quite soft. I don't want it to be too hard or too fierce. It needs to sort of blend gently in places into that sky. Working with the iron backwards and forwards, gently smoothing this around, and then putting in a sort of more solid olive green and brown section, so that here we get a bit more strength. And you can see from the drop-in photos how the distant landscape is softer and the closer landscape is harder in colour. And then a little bit of red-violet to tone in with the foxgloves that are coming in later. Time to lift the card up, and this is one of the things about working on bigger cards. You need to put your hand underneath the card and then dab carefully with the iron, trying to avoid that top edge all the time so that you get a nice natural pull-off for this suctional effect. This is representing our foliage. Cleaning up the edges and then putting on some more colour. And you'll remember, probably you already know, that where there is more colour, thicker colour and darker colour, then you'll get stronger foliage effects. So again, hand underneath, so that the iron's got something to work against, so you can control the way in which the iron touches into that work. And you can see how it's building up already, looking quite like a sort of foliage foreground. A bit more dark colour. When you have dark at the edges like this, it helps to hold the centre of attention in the middle. And if the iron gets too warm, remember just to turn it down. When you're doing the dabbing, you don't actually want it too hot, and you'll burn your fingers actually if it is too hot, so be careful on that. Back again, more darker colour, and again you can see that as I'm coming down the card, we're working from the top down, the darker colour gives a feeling of being closer. And I'm just adding this bit of blue and brown here because I'm going to put a stone in there later on. Now what I want to do here is to take a tissue, roll it into a tight point like this, a blunt tight point, so that I can use frictional movement by rubbing it backwards and forwards quite quickly and pressing quite hard to remove some of the wax. This is going to be water, and I'm working onto an uneven surface. Some of the wax is thicker than in other places. Now you have to press quite hard. Initially it doesn't look as though much is happening, but I'm trying to leave some of the wax in place so that we get this effect of mottledness. You may want to warm up your surface, especially when you're working on a big area like an A2 card. So I'm warming up the table underneath the card with the iron. I've peeled the card up, warmed the table, and then when I put the card back, you'll see how much whiter the card comes because there's warmth coming up from the table underneath as well as the frictional warmth that I'm creating. I'm pressing quite hard. You can see I'm actually resting my whole arm down on there to hold the paper. And do be careful that you don't buckle the paper because it's easily done. So now you can see the basic water. Thinking about water, it's time to revisit those toads that I mentioned earlier on. And this was a good day for toads because it was their time to come together in their breeding grounds in the same quarry as those foxgloves. It was a wonderful day to see all these toads so happy together. You're right, mate. Croak, croak. And look at all the spawn. It's like tram lines. Wonderful chance for photography. Some really beautiful ideas of shapes and natural forms. And all these toads so happy to be in this sunny evening pool. Not very deep, but very much like the water that is in the painting that I'm making. And here you can see the reeds and, hello mate, how are you doing? Enjoying the sunlight, no doubt. He looks happy enough. Hundreds and hundreds of toads and thousands and thousands and thousands of eggs. And if 5% of those eggs turn into toads, well, they will have done really well. They travel for miles apparently to be together, and I just thought you might like to know all of that. So here I am with my camera, enjoying following the toads around in this water, in this environment, realizing the wonder of nature, and the miracle of life really. Look at that lovely bubble. So all around us there's inspiration. It's never ending, we just have to awaken to it, to open our eyes to it. He's winking at me. And I took inspiration from these toads. I made a little film, about 8 minutes of it, because I found them so fascinating. I love reflection of light on water anyway. And this mother, this couple, beautiful eyes they have. I think this guy's a bit worn out. He's getting old like me probably. Anyway, I thought you'd like to perhaps share a little bit of this insight into toads and just look around and see what you see yourselves. And he said to me at the end, he said, "Oh, hello mate, and I just want to say to you that it's been very nice meeting you, and well, we're just getting on with our own lives. Maybe you'll better get back to your painting, boy." Thanks for loving toads, he said, and thank you for watching that little piece. So anyway, back to the painting. Now, an easy way to sort of improve the water is to colour it in. You can see in nature, the little drop in there, how this is a reflection of that type of reality. And having crayoned over, I'm now working off to the side. And again, I took this bit of film ages and ages ago, and I didn't refer to it before I painted, but it must have gone into me somehow. So every bit of data that you take in is in fact drawing. You're storing that idea, that information, that experience in yourself. And that's what will come out. So your art is going to be a reflection of what's already in. You can't do something if you don't know it. You have to know it, and that's the beauty of living and having the experience to know things. So take time, you know, it's worth taking time just to be and to experience things, and then you can express them. So I'm just working in another layer now in this bottom corner, sort of working down over that water. Darker colours. Again, I'm bringing in the colour of the foxgloves. And in this bottom corner, I was going to, well, I ended up putting that stone. I didn't really start out thinking that, but that's what happened. And maybe I've painted this type of picture so many times that it was almost inevitable. And I'm just keeping on with these darker colours, keeping on putting in the the red-violet colour, because that's the tone that the foxgloves are going to be. So here's my environment now for these foxgloves. Turn the iron perhaps up a little bit, and then I can use the edge of the iron, because what I want to do now is to run the guidelines for the stems. And this is a bit daring because you've got to go all the way up into the sky, and if you did it wrong, well, it would be wrong. And you can't undo it. Cleaning off carefully, otherwise you can get drips. Now, once I have done those guidelines, I'm just using the tip and flicking forward with that tip to make these little triangular shapes. And these are my actual foxglove forms now. And as I go on into these foxglove forms, I'm going to let a bit of music play, I think, and just let you watch, because I don't really need to talk anymore about all of this. So enjoy the music. Well, I don't suppose I was ever going to shut up for long. I just love taking photographs of foxgloves and of nature, and look at this little bumblebee dusted in pollen. They love to go inside the pockets of these flowers. They often disappear right inside and you see them come out again. Here's some in different stages of flowering. And at the tops of the stems they often bend in this way. You'll see it again here, from open blooms through closed and coming out blooms. And then as the blooms fall off, you're left with these beautiful seed pods. They're wonderful flowers, really, very sculptural. Fantastic. Anyway, back to the painting. So these large florets are just about done now. They're the feature flowers of the painting, and they hold that left side of the painting, keep the attention into the picture. And now I'm using the edge of the yarn like I did when I did the stems, just sliding up through to put on the foliage forms. These aren't actually true to the foliage of a foxglove, but it's just a painting, so it doesn't really matter. For me anyway, it doesn't matter. I've turned the temperature right down now because I'm putting in guidelines for smaller sets of foxgloves, and these will give the idea that they're further away. And obviously the more liquid the wax is with higher temperature, then the more easily it floods off. So turn the temperature down when you're doing more detailed things. Just using the tip now, working up those stems very carefully. Sometimes it pays to clean the iron as well, otherwise blobs can fall out. That can be really annoying. I normally start at the bottom and then work up, and then if I need to fill in I just work back down over it, and this way you can always put in darker colour towards the bottom and lighter towards the top. When you're doing very small ones, then just one stroke with the iron, as though you're doing grasses but just in the colour of the foxgloves, because you don't need to see the detail, they're farther away now. In order to bring some very close work in, I'm using the edge of the iron, sliding it through the block of wax, still the dark green again, and I'm putting these sort of reedy grassy forms up here. And another advantage of doing that, I'll see that block sticks to the iron sometimes, it's like that. Another advantage of doing this is that it holds the attention into the painting. Just put some leaves on down here first. And the point of that is that it keeps the eye looking straight up the middle of the painting. I want the viewer who's looking at this piece of work to stay in the picture, not to fall out the edge. So those grasses you can see help that. Now I'm going to go onto the stone. And the stone here is again blue-brown that I started with earlier on, but this time I'm allowing the back edge of the iron to form And you can see the little drop in there, stones, the type of information that's in my head, that's in my being. And then I'm dabbing into that, hand underneath the card again. And now the trick always to work layers back over it so that it looks pushed further back into the painting, so it becomes part of the actual context of the foreground. And I'm turning the temperature up here because I want to push the clean edge of the iron through some heavier forms of wax. And I'm highlighting now as well, using white to work over the darker colour. So rocking again between light and dark as I've done in other work. And this gives the impression of light glinting off of the reeds. And you can see the drop in there shows the forms that I'm sort of working with. They're quite simple forms really, and perfectly easy to do with the iron. And it's a good form for working over water and for bringing that feeling of nature and authenticity into the work. You might have noticed all these spots of splattered wax up in the sky area, and some even where I missed with the point of the iron when I was doing the foxglove. So I'm scraping them out, but I've still got a bit of rubbish left there. So one little trick is to use a block of wax and to rub it. You can rub it quite hard, but you need to move around. If you rub on the same place, you'll end up wearing the wax away. So I'm just trying to blend it in, finally rub it in with my fingers, and that sort of repaired it. Good enough for this sky at least. And then it gets a quick polish, and then onto the stylus to put in the dragonflies. Now some people have described these as double-decker birds. They're just sort of biplanes really. And the trick is to get a nice body on them. Now this one I'm doing in a blue. If you can get a curve into it like that, it looks more alive, so I'll revisit this one, make it a bit better. It's lovely, if ever you get the chance, just to sit down by some water where they're flying around hunting and watch them for a while. They're very fast, so you have to be quite patient. Filming them is quite difficult because they move so quickly, skimming around, they chase each other. They're quite wonderful to behold, wonderful creatures, fantastic wings. Anyway, a bit more music maybe, and we'll watch the painting grow. So there it is, my little glimpse into foxglove beauty. An enjoyable painting, and that's just one subject. The world is so full of possibilities. So as we say goodbye to the foxgloves, I'd like to say thank you very much once again for watching me and sharing with me this experience. If you want more information about encaustic art in general, then visit encaustic.com. And my name is Michael Bossum, still Michael Bossum, and I say goodbye and hope to see you again. Thanks for watching, thanks for your time, be well.